All right, you guys, we're going to continue our discussion on solving oblique triangles with the law of sines. Let's continue with this problem. So the directions say solve the triangle ABC if A equals 55.3 degrees, little a equals 22.8 feet, and little b equals 24.9 feet. All right, so just like our previous problems, I'm going to draw a triangle. All right, our capital letters we reserve for angles. Lowercase letters we reserve for sides. And I'm going to go through and label what we have. So 55.3 degrees, 22.8 feet, and 24.9 feet. Okay, so before we do anything, we need to figure out what kind of triangle we have. What case does it fall in? So for this particular triangle, I have two sides and I have an angle, and the angle that's given is not included between the two sides. If it were included, they would have had to give me angle C, which I don't have. All right. So that means I have a side-side angle, or as we call it, an ASS triangle. So remember, anytime you see that, that means that we have the ambiguous case, which means at the end of the day, we're going to have to figure out if we have no triangle, one triangle, or two triangles. Okay, so keep that in mind. Ambiguous case, you have to do a little bit more work, so don't forget. All right, so let me go through and make a table for what we have. A, B, C. Big A is 55.3 degrees. Big B, we don't know. Little a, B, C. Little a is 22.8 feet. And little b is 24.9 feet. Okay, so remember, the next way that I can tell I'm going to use the law of sines, even if I forget what case I have, I can look at my problem and see that I have a combination. Okay, so I've been given a pairing. So I have both angle A and side A, which lets me know that I can use the law of sines on this problem. Okay, so probably the easiest thing to find first is angle B because I already know what side B is. Okay, so I'm going to look for angle B. Okay, so I'm going to use what I have to find what I need. And then also because I'm looking for an angle, that means my uppercase letters need to be in the numerator. So sine A over little a equals sine B over B. I'm going to fill in what I have. So A is 55.3 over little a, 22.8, side B over 24.9. I'm going to cross multiply. So it's going to give me 24.9 sine 55.3 equals 22.8 sine B. All right, then I'm going to divide both sides by 22.8 because I need sine B to be by itself. So sine B equals 24.9 sine 55.3 divided by 22.8. So I need to figure out what that equals, okay? So I'm going to go up here, and when I plug that into the calculator, I get this value, okay? So remember, your calculator needs to be in degrees, okay? So when I get that decimal, it's going to tell me one of three things. If that angle, sine of theta, is greater than 1, that means I have no triangle. If sine theta equals 1, that means I have one triangle, and it's a right triangle. And if sine theta is less than 1, I have one triangle automatically, but I could have two. Okay, so if I'm looking at this value, my value is less than 1. So automatically, I have one triangle. Okay, I could have two. So in order for me to figure it out, I have to figure out what this triangle equals in degrees. So I take the inverse, okay, of the answer that I just got, and I get 63.879. I'm going to round that to one decimal place. So that angle is 63.9. Okay, so let me fill this in. We got 0.897 0.86 something. All right. So then to get b out of here, we do the inverse. That's why we did that. So we're doing sine inverse 0.89786. And that gave us 63.9 degrees. Okay. So that's our angle B. Okay. Now, at this point, we have to check to see if we have two triangles. Okay. So if we're checking to see if we have two triangles, we need to find the supplement of this angle we just found. Okay, so remember, supplementary angles sum to 180. So I'm going to take 180 minus this angle I just got, 63.9, to see what that equals. When I plug that into the calculator, I get 116.1. Okay, now that I found the supplement, in order for there to be a second triangle, it means that the supplement that I just found has to fit with the original angle that they gave me. So the original angle that exists in my triangle was 55.3. Okay, so I'm going to take 55.3 and I'm going to add it to 116.1, the supplement, to see what that equals. When I do that, I get 171.4. Okay, now because this value is less than 180, okay, I know I have two triangles. Okay, if I only had one triangle, this value here that we just got would have been greater than 180, and I could have scrapped the idea of having a second triangle. But it's less than, so that means I'm going to have two. Okay, so what that means up here in my table, okay, all of the original information is going to stay, okay? But I'm going to have to set up another table for the second triangle. So A, B, C, little a, little b, little c, okay? So all of the original information that they gave me, it's like I'm going to copy and paste it into the second chart. So they originally gave me A. They originally gave me little a. And they originally gave me little b. Okay, so the rest of the values that are missing, I can go ahead and mark these with a subscript, 2, 2. These values are going to be specific for triangle 2, whereas the values that are in my first chart are specific to triangle 1. Okay, so now I'm going to be solving these triangles separately. So for triangle 1, okay, this 63.9, okay, that belongs to the first triangle. That's B1. Okay, so that's 63.9, okay, and the supplement, this 116.1, that's going to be our B2, okay, that's the angle B that belongs to the second triangle. Okay, now you're going to solve the rest of the pieces of the triangle individually, just like we did before, so that's the only different part. All right, so let's try to do that. So let's finish triangle 1 first, and then we'll move on to triangle 2. Okay, so for triangle 1, I'll keep triangle 1 stuff in blue. All right, so we can find C is probably the next easiest thing to find. So C1, okay, and it's probably the easiest thing to find because we know that all the angles of a triangle sum to 180. So I can say 180 minus 55.3 minus 63.9, and that equals 60.8, okay? So that's angle C in the first triangle, okay? Now I can find C1, right, the little side C of the first triangle. So I'm going to do the most with what they gave me, so I'm going to use the law of sines, and I'm going to use the combination A that I already have, okay? So since I'm looking for a lowercase letter, remember that my lowercase letters need to be in the numerator, which signify my sides. So I'm going to say A over sine A equals C1 over sine C1. And I'm going to fill in what I have. All right, so little a is 22.8. over sine of 55.3 equals little c1 over sine of c1 is 60.8. I'm going to cross multiply. So that's going to give me 22.8 sine of 60.8 equals C1 sine 55.3. I'm going to divide by sine of 55.3. So C1 equals 22.8 sine 60.8 divided by sine of 55.3. Okay. And when I plug that into the calculator, I get this. 24.2. And that's going to be in feet. All right, so I can go up here and fill it in my table. Okay, so now we've officially completed triangle 1. All of its information is done. Okay, now we can go ahead and finish solving for triangle 2. Okay, so let me move this way. Okay, so I'm going to make triangle 2 stuff in green, I guess. All right, so the easiest thing probably to find on triangle 2 is C2, because we know that all the angles of a triangle sum to 180. So we can say 180 minus 55.3 minus 116.1 equals, when I plug that into the calculator, I get 8.6. Okay, so that's what C2 equals. Okay, and then the last thing we have to find is side C2. Okay, and I'm going to do the most with what they gave me. So I'm going to use the law of sines, and I'm going to use the A combination again to find it. So lowercase letters go in the numerator. And I'm going to plug in what I have. All right, then I'm going to cross multiply. So that's 22.8 times the sine of 8.6 equals C2 sine 55.3. I'm going to divide both sides by sine of 55.3. So C2 is going to equal 22.8 sine of 8.6 all over the sine of 55.3. So when I plug that into the calculator, I get this, 4.1. So I'm going to come here, it's 4.1 feet. Okay, so after all of this, okay, we can see that we have both of our charts filled out. So as far as our answers go, these are all of the answers for triangle 1 and for triangle 2. Okay, so it's important that you keep them straight. So all the answers that have a subscript of 1 are the answers for triangle 1. All of the answers that have a subscript of 2 are the answers for triangle 2. Okay, cool. Hope this helps.